If you're wanting to create different results in your life, something has to change. Quite often, it's that we have to start showing up in a way that's going to actually begin to create those results. Those different results, like maybe having better relationships that are more aligned with how you actually want people to show up and having the space to show up how you want to in other people's lives. Maybe it's with your career or finances. Maybe it's with your health or anything really in life where you're wanting to see a different result. Hi there, my name is Jennilee and I'm a mindset coach that helps you end self-abandonment, self-doubt, playing small so that you can create the life, love, and impact that you truly desire and deserve. So when we're talking about change, and especially for those of us that maybe have experienced a lot of anxiety, fear, when we start showing up more in our relationships, we start taking up more space, we start getting more vocal or out there in the world while we create our thing that we really want to offer. The fear element of that change, where now you're stepping more into being visible or speaking up more, or just kind of like staying present with something like a health goal, can actually create a lot of discomfort in our system. So the way our nervous system works is that we have a sort of base that feels like home to our nervous system. And if our base is something like us not speaking up or us not being in really healthy relationships, if that's what we're used to and that's what our nervous system is kind of calibrated to, when we start changing something, we're actually kicking up a threat response in our nervous system. Like, wait a second, I'm familiar with, relationships where like my needs aren't being addressed and other people just kind of take up all the space because at least I know how to navigate it. But now you're like asking me to voice my needs and start expressing myself in different ways and showing up to conflict. And like setting a boundary and saying, hey, that doesn't work for me. And then showing up to things like the willingness to leave something, not just relationships, but it could be a job or it could be a situation or it could be friendships or it could be anything really. Because that could also kick up the part of you that's afraid of that loneliness or that shift into the unknown. So our nervous system is used to what is known. It thinks that that's safe because we understand it, even if it's actually not actually safe or doesn't work for us. So when we start making those changes, you will experience things like anxiety when you go to maybe do some public speaking because you want to be the person that's able to do that. Then it's going to create that anxiety as you anticipate whatever it is that you're afraid about that. I had an experience of that recently. Right? So I was traveling for a number of months and that was really good for me to grow and break out of my comfort zone and to face fears and to really see what I'm capable of when I'm out in the world, navigating it. The traveling was another aspect of me showing up and challenging myself. And then, I get home, I'm like, okay, I don't want to get complacent. And I feel myself, having little bits of that anxiety or knowing that it could happen. And so I remembered, oh, hey, it's Tuesday. My local bookstore has an open mic for poetry, for stories, for whatever you want to read. And I was like, I've written some things. I wouldn't call myself a writer necessarily at this moment, though that might be interesting later. Yesterday for me now, I sat there and I'm like, okay, you've got a little bit of time and write this out. And then you're going to go to that open mic and you're going to get up there and you're going to share your thoughts and yourself in front of people. So even as I was navigating the world, like public speaking has been something that I've been afraid to do. Right? Like I've done it sometimes, but it's always created a lot of anxiety for me. And it was really interesting to experience how I approached it this time in a much more conscious, self-aware way, centered much more in my own sovereignty and how I wanted to show up to the experience, not just how I wanted other people to experience me as I go and share something, but how I wanted to show up to the experience. So I'm going to elaborate more on that story as we talk about this concept of getting comfortable with discomfort in the process of change. Change is going to require discomfort, and that's okay. Like, what if that doesn't have to be a crisis? Nervous system, especially initially, will make it feel like it's a crisis. But when we shift our relationship to this understanding that, yes, especially the first times I do something is going to be uncomfortable, but I can approach it in a way where I'm taking all of this into account and I'm supporting myself through that process, it can become a little bit easier. And then over time, you're going to be facing these things and doing greater and greater things, and you're going to know how to engage with that process in a way that makes it less and less intimidating each time. They're like, oh, hey, familiar friend of discomfort. This means I'm growing. This means I'm freaking awesome. This means I'm going to be like showing up more in the world. And then once I move through this experience, I'm going to feel so much more capable. I'm going to be able to see it really, truly in my reality, that I'm so much more capable than this fear is trying to tell me in this moment. So actually, this discomfort is only indicating that I should go forward, because it's going to show me that I'm much greater than whatever I thought I was previously. So let's talk about how to approach the discomfort when it comes up, and how to maybe create a little more ease around that, and just really get comfortable with how cool it can actually be to know that we're growing, and to know that we're actually creating the life that we want, and that this piece is just one part of that. And I can be really gentle with myself and take it as the opportunity it is for me to show up to myself when I'm in the process of change and when I'm facing a fear. So especially when we're given to self-abandonment, that's something I've experienced, and that's something that I love holding space for and helping others really end that pattern of self-abandonment, because it gets in the way of everything. Now, understanding that our pattern of self-abandonment, it was like a safety mechanism, right? So like when we're young, it was something we did to make ourselves feel safe, and maybe to actually be safe, depending on what your situation was. And so it's not bad, wrong, terrible. It was just a coping mechanism that we developed that helped us in a previous time. But now we're in a different place, and we can honor the fact that, hey, I had a coping mechanism. It got me through whatever that was that it got me through. And thank you. Thank you for getting me through. Thank you, self, for getting me through everything that we've been through. And now, thank you, self, for showing up to where we're going, and to the process of transmuting this pattern into one where I'm actually really showing up for myself, advocating for myself, setting high standards, accepting nothing other than what I actually deserve, and really expanding what I understand about what I deserve. So our nervous system is going to get triggered by change. We'll probably experience some type of anxiety, or, different physical symptoms and stuff. Like, what do you do? Our mind's going to start being like, don't do that thing. I don't know what's going to happen. Or like, what if people judge me? So what do we do when this all starts showing up? One thing we can do is begin to get more present and kind of observe it. So almost take like an observer stance, and you can start naming things even to yourself. Like, okay, I'm feeling anxious. So I see that I'm worried about people's opinions. I see that I have these imaginations of getting up there and seeming really anxious. And actually what I'm really worried about is just them knowing that I'm anxious, because for some reason that feels embarrassing, right? Like, I actually think that especially when we're stepping more into taking up space, that the fear isn't really so much about like, this person's going to judge me, but it's about having to experience the discomfort of the anxiety that comes up when I anticipate that, or when I'm getting closer and closer to taking up that space, or to showing up to something like public speaking. Because the experience is so visceral, it's in our body, we're experiencing tension, our heart's beating really fast, we're feeling adrenaline. It's not comfortable at all. Consider the discomfort pain, right? And our body tries to avoid pain. So of course, if like my experience of getting myself ready and going up there and waiting, and now I'm going to go up to the stage, like, we're just going to talk about my last example, right? Then if that whole experience is painful, of course we don't want to do that. It makes sense. It's logical that the pain of showing up and taking up space, because of all the anxiety and the physical symptoms of all that and everything, emotional and even psychological, which would be like our thoughts racing and reinforcing the fear, it's not comfortable. So I want to like pause for a second and be like, hey, if you're doing this, if you're showing up more than you have before, if you're facing change and the discomfort, celebrate that, because that's badass to be willing to step out of your comfort zone to face fears. Like, not everybody does that, and you're doing that, or at least you're willing, which is why you're watching this video. That's awesome. So celebrate them. Okay. So the fear is coming up. We're getting all anxious about the thing. We can begin to take that observer stance, and we're doing it from a place of care, from this place of saying to ourselves, like, hey, yeah, this is hard. This isn't easy, and I'm still doing it. And look at me do it, to the point where I'm experiencing anxiety because it's hard, and it's something that's beyond what I have experienced as my comfort zone. Like, hey, okay, so I've got the thoughts going. I've got these imaginations of, people judging me or me failing because I get so anxious I just can't even do it, right? That's like the fear. I just won't be able to get through it. I'll just walk off and that's terrible. And partly what I'm doing too, right? I'm observing it, which gives me a little bit of space between me and the thing. Now I'm the observer. Now I'm the space that's holding the experience. I'm not just in the experience and identifying as the experience of, oh, I am panicked. I am anxiety. I am fear, right? Like that's when you're identified with it. If I begin to start observing what's happening, now I'm the observer. Now I'm kind of both, right? I'm the one experiencing it, but also the observer. And that gives me a little bit of space within myself to then begin to, and you get better at the skill over time, begin to decide what I want to focus on. And I will say too, like, especially if you feel the fear of moving past your comfort zone or taking up space in your body really intensely, doing something with your body can help to move that energy. Because you can think about it as energy. I've got all this energy kicked up because we're doing something new. And so what I can do is like address it as though it's energy. So another thing that I did on yesterday as I was getting ready to go public speaking was I made sure to work out, where I was expelling some energy. For me, it was like strength training and it was some yoga. So there were some elements of centering myself, but then also getting my muscles really going because that helps with the tension I was holding in my muscles. As you do that, which helps to address some of the physical symptoms, you'll have more capacity in your conscious mind to begin to direct where you want your focus. And one thing I was doing was I was really practicing noticing when my mind was going to see myself as a previous version who was just way too afraid to do the thing that I was going to do that day, and pushing forward in my mind all these like imaginations and things of just not being able to do it or just feeling really anxious while I'm doing it. And isn't that terrible, right? So I was noticing when this was happening and I was saying, hey, actually, I want to think about myself as the version of me that I'm actually moving toward, that I'm creating myself as. I want to start imagining myself doing this well, enjoying it, maybe actually going up there and feeling calm and centered. Like I'm shifting. I'm not going to focus on this fear. I'm going to focus on my vision. So it can be really hard at the beginning. I understand. This is a practice. Like I did this multiple times in the day, right? This wasn't just like, oh, I switched my mind. Now I'm good. It was like, oh, it's getting over here. No, I'm choosing to be the person that can do this. Like I want to be that person that can do this. I want to be someone who like has that confidence and like has really cool and interesting things to say. And so like I spend my time getting creative, and then I'm like the type of person that can like walk up there and I inspire people by the fact that I'm really into what I'm sharing. You know how like even if the thing itself isn't super profound, but you see the person who's sharing it and they're really into their thing, don't you like feel more impressed by that? Even if it in and of itself wasn't like, oh, that's amazing, but the fact that they're super into it and they feel confident in who they are, like that kind of blows people away just in and of itself. So I was imagining myself like that. I'm like, what if, like partly what I'm offering is just like me as a confident person, right? So like you see how as I start going into it, it just keeps your focus over there. And then I go about my day and I'm like, hey, I also know that for me, anxiety can put me into a freeze state where I feel like I can't decide on what I want to do. And like I start, I'm not doing what I want to do in the day, and I'm just kind of waiting for the thing. I'm like frozen until the thing's over. So I know that can be a pattern of mine. And so when I noticed that subtly, it wasn't coming up like hugely, but when I noticed that subtly coming up, I'd be like, hey, okay, what's the next thing I need to do? And I need to like move into. So just start moving into action, sort of like taking the steps to kind of break out of that freeze mode. And one of those things was moving my body, which can help, right? So like, even if you can't think of a thing you have to do, just doing some movement can begin to help break out of a freeze moment, right? And so then I'm still holding this up, right? So, and there were certain moments in the day when I'm like, oh shoot, we're getting closer to the time. And I'd start doing this a little bit. And I was like, no. When I was driving over there and I'm like, oh God, we're going there. It was getting like really loud again. And I kept just saying to myself, like, even when I kind of lost touch with that vision because the fear was getting loud, and now I'm like actually showing up to the place and I'm going to be doing the public speaking. What I was doing too was just moving forward. Like I was allowing it to be present. This gets to be part of my experience too. It's okay. It doesn't have to stop me or mean anything. It's just like, I'm afraid. Okay, I'm still going to go there. I'm still doing it. I'm still going to sit down and I'm going to write my name on the list of people that's going up front. Okay. And I just saw myself take the next step, just keep doing it. And then another thing I was doing too in that whole process was I was noticing when I was getting focused on the outcome of whether I failed completely or did a really amazing thing, right? Because that was helping me sometimes in the day, and other times I realized hey, the outcome doesn't matter. Ultimately, that's not why I'm doing this. Why I'm doing this, and this could be, even if the outcome is part of what you're doing, allow this other thing to be part of your reasoning as well, which is I'm doing this experience to have this experience of showing up to something that I'm afraid of. I'm engaging with this experience for all of this, for this moment right now. When I'm in the car and I'm like, oh shit, I'm parked and now I gotta go inside. This is part of the experience that I'm choosing to show up to be in this moment with the fear and the vision and just move forward and see myself moving forward, experience myself moving forward. They both get to be present. They're both realities, right? For me in that moment. And all three of us are moving forward. And another thing too is I really wanted part of my experience was to be me holding space for myself in a loving, gentle, caring way during the process of showing up to fear. And so I wasn't mad at myself for being afraid. I wasn't telling myself, stop being afraid and just have the vision, stop this right now, right? I wasn't doing that. I was just hey, it's okay to have this experience. It's okay to be afraid. I'm going to hold myself in that, and I'm going to show myself what I'm capable of. I'm going to hold myself in this experience, and I'm going to show myself what I'm capable of. That's really powerful. So this one's called The Path to Healing. They say the wound isn't your fault, but healing is your responsibility. I know there is truth to that, but for some reason I contract at that sentiment. My responsibility, because hurt people, right? So to help the next person, I gotta heal myself from the pain that someone else caused. Got it. Wait, what about me though? This feels a bit unfair, because it is. So I paused, I took a moment to mull over this idea and thought, well, what if I didn't have to be concerned with fairness in an unfair world? What does healing look like outside of fairness and responsibility? When I look at this reality and almost turn it like one does a prism, letting the light break open into many colors, I found what actually works for me. It's not my responsibility, it's my honor. It's my honor to love myself the way I should be loved. It's my honor to show up for myself, respect myself, and celebrate my beautiful, unique existence. It's my honor to heal what was once harmed and create wholeness within myself, because I deserve that, because I desire it, just because. Responsibility makes me think about myself as a project or a thing to be fixed. But honor, now that is a field open wide, with gentle, warm sunbeams shining down on my face, with a path opening before me, leading me back to my true place. All right. And I will tell you, I'm kind of excited to go back next week. I have one more Tuesday that I'm here in this town, and I want to go back. But you see how that's only possible because not only was I addressing the fear throughout the day, but I was showing up to that last part, right? That this process was about me showing me what I'm capable of. And because I was present to that, I got to see what I was capable of and really receive it. I didn't just get through it and, oh my God, thank God it's over and I never want to do that again. It wasn't that at all. It was hey, look at this. Oh my God, now I'm on the stage. Okay, all right. And then I'm saying stuff and I actually chose two things. I only brought one thing and then I actually decided to read two things. Another thing I found on my phone. And I'm okay. And then, I received the clapping because we all clapped after everybody did each of their pieces. And then I sat down and I was and then, it was really cool. I noticed myself after we were all done and sort of dispersing. There was a part of me that wanted to hear somebody affirm what I did and tell me I did good. And I remember sort of standing there and thinking to myself, you know what? What if I just acknowledge hey, that would be cool. And I don't need that. I'm not going to walk up to somebody and ask them, did you like my thing? Because I feel that for me at least was going to feed the part of me that was worried that maybe it wasn't good enough. And so what I did was I just acknowledged, oh, okay. I have this feeling inside, this sort of unsettledness after it's all done because that was vulnerable and scary. And I did it. I just I feel I want a little reassurance, but I can give it to myself right now. And so internally, I just thought to myself, hey, you did great. That was awesome. I'm so proud of you. And then I kind of went off and I got some water and I just was going to leave. And this lady said, wait, I want to tell you that I'm going to say this is really powerful. I want to tell you that your piece made me almost cry because it was so moving. And just thank you so much for sharing that. And you know what was so cool is because I noticed when I had the need for affirmation and I gave it to myself and like let it go, that I was able to receive affirmation that was like so much more meaningful. Not something I was seeking out to like ask someone to tell me I was okay. I actually didn't even know that person was there, but it came to me in like a really beautiful way. I reflected on that afterwards and I was like, this is like the beauty of sharing ourselves in the world is so that it creates a positive impact. At least for me, that's really meaningful. So I hope this is helpful. I know I didn't have any notes today. I just started talking. It might have been a bit scattered. I'm not apologizing for that. I hope that you received something powerful from this. And let me know, too. I'd love to know, what thing are you facing today, this week, this month? How are you stepping out of your comfort zone? How are you saying yes to you, more of you in the world? Because the world really needs more of you. I want to see more of you, and you just deserve to be here and expressed and received and celebrated, at least on this channel. You are going to be celebrated for you showing up and saying yes, because that's what we're here to do. So let me know. And also, if you want the free Living Yesfully workbook where you can do some journaling, some reflecting, you can find that on my website, livingyesfully.com. If you want some one-on-one support, then there's also a coaching form which gives you a description of kind of how I approach coaching, what the different options are. If you want that, feel free to check it out also on the website. And yeah, join me here. Hit subscribe. Join me and my amazing 6 people that are here right now. You all are legends.